everybody. Welcome to the WhatCulture Gaming Podcast. I'm your host, Scott Tailford, joined by Rich Hudson.
Hello.
And Josh Brown.
Hello.
And we're going to devote an entire podcast to Resident Evil 2 because it's pretty much the first game of the year contender.
Well,
it's so good.
It's so good. It's pretty much like the first game of the year.
There is that too. That's kind of,
yeah.
that might be why it's up there. But let's just start with some general overall impressions. Rich, you finished it because you drank it in such a
finished
such a
Leon's
pace.
campaign, yes.
Yes. And Josh, you and me are near the end.
I think so, yeah. I'm about 4 or 5 hours. Well, I'm actually about halfway through, 4 or 5 hours in. I'm in the sewers without spoiling anything.
Stop being in the sewers,
I
mate.
like the sewers, mate. It smells nice. It's where I live.
It's a bad time. Yeah, Rich, you just took it, and this was your first Resident Evil
Yes,
ever.
this is my first Resi ever.
Which is insane.
Ever. Like, I've never even touched any of the other games at all. Basically, obviously, there's a lot of hype going around about this game. And I sort of, just as you said, drank it all in, really. Like, everyone was very excited. The fact there was a demo was what secured it for me. So Friday just gone, I downloaded the demo and played it through, and I finished the demo, like, within the 30 minutes, which I was really surprised about.
You're going at some pace.
Yeah, I thought I was there because I was watching, because on Steam you get achievements, and it was like, you've played 5 minutes, you played 10 minutes. I got to like 25, and it was just as I got the medallion, and I was there like, I don't know how much I've got left. And I walked outside, and it was like, hey, the demo's over. You finished it in 20 minutes and 20 seconds. And I was like, oh, okay.
Because I think you said that your full Leon campaign play was about 6 hours.
Just shy of 6 hours.
Yeah, which is like that's what I've seen.
5:54. I did take a screenshot. I can't
That's
remember
great because
what it is,
that's what I've seen. Like the hardcore fans are hitting about a 6 hour mark, which means that you clocked
That's nuts. I don't know how I've done it. I mean,
Doing pretty
basically,
well.
like, I wasn't like blasting through the game. I was taking my time to think, oh, I've got this. Hang on, I remember where this is. And, the map is fantastic to be able to know what is where as long as you've looked at it. And, going back and doing other things. I didn't go for the 100% run. I wanted to see where the story went and all this sort of thing. Because I was completely engrossed by it. It was fantastic.
One of the things I'm curious about, which you can talk about a little bit in terms of the level design, is like this RE2 remake is a nice return, or I don't know, it's kind of a return to that sort of puzzle-based nature that Resident Evil always had. Things that didn't used to always make the most sense, but it was like, hey, it's a video game, so whatever. Whereas like, you're finding medallions, you're getting specific keys and stuff, and I like that as like a welcoming thing. Did that sit okay with you in terms of?
I thought it was fantastic,
right?
Because like I said, I've never played Resi before in my life. I only ever saw it as just a fixed camera / third-person action game. And then when I played the demo and it was like, hey, you need to go find 3 medallions to open a statue, I thought, sure, okay. I'm completely down for that. I know for a fact, like I know this series is a bit over the top. You just have to go back to the first one, look at the voice acting. I knew what I was letting myself in for. I knew this was a game with a bit of sort of whimsicality to it. So I was more than happy when it was like, hey, go and do this seemingly nonsensical thing while you're being chased by zombies. And I was like, sure.
So, I love the way they try to kind of contextualize it, being like the police station is
a museum.
A former museum. And I'm like, I'm totally down with this. This is
makes
awesome.
no sense. Like this weird escape route that's underneath a shifting like iron gate that's underneath the statue, and it unlocks with 3 medallions. And like you find like a scepter at the beginning, and you can pop the gem out and unlock a box later on. And it's just
that took me so long to work out. I got that. It was like the first thing I developed was that picture that showed you the statue. I worked it out, and I was like, oh, this is cool. And then I got the staff and went, there's
a whole load of stuff like that. I kind of love the way that they've sort of taken the original and expanded on it. Like in terms of like characters and stuff, like what do you guys think of you won't know the original designs for Leon and Claire?
I've seen them.
Right, okay.
I did do some Googling when I first came across Ada. I was like, I wonder how she looked in the original, and did some Googling.
I think I actually really love one of because this isn't going to be a spoiler cast or anything. We're not going to go into especially the end game stuff. But I do love the way that Leon becomes more like kind of battle hardened as the game goes on. There's one bit where something happens to him and he ends up having to like put a bandage on his arm kind of thing, and when he stands back up he's all covered in blood and cuts and he's got this like bandage on him, and I was like, that's more like the sort of version that the fans assumed we were going to get anyway, because I like how they make him look so green and innocent and like kind of like first day on the job, like literally, but also in his design. Him and Claire both look really amateurish at the very beginning, but they go through a lot of stuff. Actually, Josh, what was your overall first impressions? Because we didn't even touch.
I mean, I really, really love it. Like, it's really great. It's a great sort of progression of Resident Evil 7 in particular. I know we're going back to sort of this old school style, but Resident Evil 7 also tried to do that with the kind of, it was a throwback to the Spencer Mansion in the way you were sort of exploring that world and trying to get sort of like the same kind of puzzle based like keys or items to unlock new doors. Although I think Resident Evil 2 does it better and proves that you can still have that old school style in a third person shooter and still be scary and still be tense.
I think this one does it better. Like in RE7, like I really adored RE7. I thought it would be a phenomenal movie, and like I love the tone and everything. It's great. But one of of the things that Resident Evil's always had is it can't help itself when it comes to the big over-the-top monsters and the really ridiculous stuff, and the stuff that just makes you, it's not scary, it's just kind of like formidable or something, like it's intimidating, and you sort of just go like, okay, I guess I have to shoot the 7 weak spots now, or like whatever. And so even RE7 went like that at the end. You were just fighting this giant slug that represented the main villain, and it was like, okay, fine. But I think 2 like has the right kind of balance for that. Like they still do their creature feature stuff with the tyrant and everything, but you're still coming up against like horrible stuff that you need to fight. What do you guys think of like the enemy designs and like even something like Mr. X who just pursues you the whole time?
Well,
because that was annoying for me.
Well, see, I played less than you guys, but for me, Mr. X is in a sweet spot of every time he turns up, I'm like, oh my god, right, I need to sort of change the way I play. I need to run away, essentially. Right. So he hasn't shown up enough for me to get annoyed by him. Go back to Resident Evil 7 when I think it was Jack. Who, every time he turned up there, and he occupied a similar role where he would just chase you, and you couldn't kill him, you could put him down, but he'd get back up. I thought that was really frustrating by the end, but I haven't hit that with Mr. X, potentially because the world, at least as it is now, I'm in the sewers, but in the RCPD station in particular, the world was so big that I couldn't get away from him. Right. And sort of like mish around and like double back myself. And then while I was getting away from him, I had more enemies to deal with, and I didn't want to spend bullets. I wanted to try and get them through them as quick as possible. There was this constant kind of fear to do things as quick as possible and yet not sacrifice what you said, Rich, about drinking in the world. Like for me, it's hit a sweet spot. It might not soon, but for me, every single time he turns up, it's such a great surprise.
I think to take off on what you said there, Josh, the way, because obviously I finished Leon's campaign, the way that they paced the
Lordy.
The way that they paced the tyrant throughout, because I knew that he was coming because Jules has not shut up about it.
Yeah, that was like his favorite
he
thing.
loves him so much. So when he first turned up, I was like, oh, it's this guy. Yeah. I know what you do because I've heard about him. But I think the way that they go about using him and not using him throughout the whole campaign, at least Leon's side, is fantastic. Like he doesn't get annoying. There were points where it was really tense, where you just hear him turn up and you think, great, I've got to go and do this puzzle thing in this dead end of a room that's really, really tight. I can't get past them. I don't have enough ammo to knock him down. Yeah. That's where things get fun.
That I love. Like I love the idea of it. I love the sound design because you always hear his footsteps in the distance and they get louder. Oh, they're literally above you if you've got the binaural audio.
That was always because I played with headphones on the whole way through. Yeah. And there were moments when I'm thinking, is he above me? Is he below me? Is he outside this door? There were times I was sat in a room with a shotgun at the door waiting for him to come in, and then he never turned up.
Even if you shoot him, he just pings off him anyway. Yeah, like that. I love the sound design. I love the presence that he has. That stuff's great. But there was one bit where I was just trying to explore, and all I wanted to do was move a bookcase. You'll know which puzzle it is.
Oh yeah.
And so I was on my way to there, and he just wouldn't leave me alone. And I was like, just go somewhere. Like I don't care where you go.
I sort of ran him to the opposite end of the station, ran back again, and when he turned up and I had like one more thing to move, I just shot him. And like I can spare 3 shotgun shells to get rid of him here.
You can flashbang him, I think, to make him.
You can flashbang him as well.
But that's the thing. I was like, because the story wasn't. I was just doing this extra thing. You do come back there. I think you come back there later on. Oh, you do need to go through it for the critical path. But all I needed to do was this crank bookcase thing, and he just wouldn't leave me alone. So I was like, I have to go do this massive tag catch me loop lap thing around the main hall, and then hope he doesn't come back again.
I wonder if his appearance there is scripted, because I had the same problem. I was trying to move the bookcases, and he's just there.
I do think they haven't just left him to be a drone. I think there are times when the game knows, okay, because like I said, that very claustrophobic dead end puzzle, he did not turn up.
Right.
And when I walked out of there, I was expecting to be either outside the door or at least on the walkway towards me, and he wasn't. So maybe there are points where the game goes, okay, maybe on the difficulty, because I played on normal difficulty, like maybe that'll be, we'll let you off here. Maybe if you play on harder, he will just be, his AI script will be follow them, end of story.
There are 2 moments that I've encountered so far that his unpredictability has just worked so well. For me, it was when you have to go down into the basement and turn on the the power, so all the jail cells unlock. So you're already dealing with all these zombies.
I was waiting for him then.
I did anticipate him. Like, so I remember walking through thinking, okay, there's one there, and there's one there, and there's one here. I thought there'd be only 3 zombies to worry about, and suddenly there's like loads of them. And a lob of frag grenade, all's good. And then that.
See, when I got to that bit, I had like no bullets. I had 3 or 4 Magnum rounds, and I kept missing them. And I was like, "Oh my god, I just run out!" So I shot a few zombies, and I was like, "I'm just gonna have to run through them." So I was trying to weave in between them. Finally, weaved in between them, was on danger, and then Mr. X pops out. I'm like, "Jesus Christ, give me a break!"
That was the thing, because he sometimes like that's the thing you were saying about the AI. Like my gamer brain makes me. I'm so curious how they made him work, because there's certain bits where he shows up in small rooms, and I know that I left him on the other half of the map, and I know he doesn't move fast enough to catch up with me, fast enough to be there. there. But then sometimes I'm already fighting a couple of zombies in some small room, and he just comes through the door, and I'm like, I think that was scripted. He's meant to be there.
Could be, like I said,
but they keep the pressure on.
I think they maybe take the pressure off and put it on a bit more based on what you're doing.
There's the one bit we can talk about quickly about like jump scares. There was one bit where I actually yelled. I haven't done like a proper like jump scare in a while, but it was just after the Mr. X showed up, and I was like, oh my god, I'm sick of running away from him and stuff. And I went up to the top floor. I think it was after I finally did the bootcase thing. Yeah. And I managed to like come out on the top floor, and I was just walking down the main corridor thing in the main room, and there's a zombie behind one of the pillars. Yeah. And then when you go around, then it just comes out at you, and I went, oh!
I already got like properly like jumped in this game, which I was really surprised about. I think I was going about everything and always anticipating something happening. Yeah. But one of the first ones that got me was just on the third floor in the station, just opening the locker in the shower room, and a body falls out.
That got me.
Jesus Christ!
It's so slow. Like you think it's real, you think it's going to attack you, and
falls out.
It's brilliant.
And I don't think Leon even said anything. I think the body just fell out, and it scared me to death.
Mine was again in the basement where you finally turn on the power. It's not for the whole thing. I think it's in the firing range and in the morgue, and you're slowly pulling out like these tables with dead bodies in, and every single one you're like, is he going to get up? Is he not going to get up?
Oh, that was horrible. It's like, I turned the volume down when I was doing that, because I knew for a fact I'd scoured everything. I thought, okay, there's only one thing left. I have to open these drawers.
One of my favorite things is how they play with horror tropes like that, where you know you're in for a jump scare, but they still like drag it out, and then because you're the one who's interacting with the very mechanic of here is the slow thing opening, and then they still manage to pull it off, like whether it's like a volume spike or whatever.
As you said about subverting it, every time I saw a body on the floor, it's like, do I waste a bullet and shoot it in the head and kill it now, or is it actually not going to come alive? And there were a lot of things that didn't come alive until a set piece happened, and then it woke up, and I thought that was fantastic.
That's something
I was always slowly pacing over bodies, wave one and get you again.
That thing about like thinking like, I'll just like Zombieland, like double tap, I'll finish something off, or I'll attack ahead of time. Every time I did that, it resulted in a zombie that took an absolute ton of bullets to put down. I think it's because they don't want you cleaning out the ranks beforehand.
This is what I do genuinely love about this game, right? Zombies are overdone, but they've managed to make zombies feel fresh again in a weird way.
Especially they don't overwhelm you with them.
Every single zombie is like a threat, and I love the way that you never know if you've actually put one down. Unless their head splits in half, I do not trust any of them to not get back up, and they always do get back up, and it's so unpredictable that you can think you finish one off, and you might either get straight back up, or like you said, Rich, you might be triggered later on going back through that area, and then they're there for you. And I love that just feeling of always being overwhelmed. I think the best zombie films always talk about like how you can't put them down.
The horde.
But in video games you're like, I can just shoot them in the head and put them down, but not in that sort of just overwhelming sort of sense of fear I got from these zombies is something I don't think I've ever got from zombies, maybe in the original Resident Evil.
I think one of the things you're saying about making them feel fresh, we've got to talk about the gore, because I think that they have an insane system for gore. I don't know how they've done it. It reminds me of the Wolverine old movie game, where they've sort of modeled like flesh, muscle, skeleton, everything all the way down, because like even in the demo you can sort of play around like shooting a zombie's face all the way off. And then like when I got the shotgun, I was like, I'm just gonna see how much of a person's body I can blow apart with a shotgun. So I just like went straight up behind a zombie and just like full bore shot him in the back, and his entire back just blew out, and it was all just like the spine and the innards and everything, and the guy just sort of like fell over. And one of the early gifs that did the rounds was someone being shot in half and then the top half crawling away, and the intestines just like flailing around.
Well,
I love that.
The first couple of hours when I was playing it, and when you first get the combat knife, I just resorted to playing it like I would Resident Evil 4, where you knock on the ground, then you just knife the crap out of them. One, knives break, so that's not really a good idea. Two, I was knifing this one zombie for ages. His arms were coming off. He had like barely a face left, and I was like, he's got to be dead now. He has to be dead. And then he started chinning his way towards us. I'm like, no, I'm just wasting 5 minutes, a load of bullets, all this knife. I've got nothing left.
How much room was still coming at you?
Barely anything. Just a he had no arms and maybe one leg.
Just walking with his jaw.
Actually, I think half of his body might have just come off. Actually, maybe no legs.
Because I remember, I don't know if you guys ever played the Soldier of Fortune series on like the PS2 I think, might be on PC. But that game had back in the day was like one of the things that became known for over the top experimental gore. You could shoot off limbs and like you could just sort of see how much damage you can do to another being. And that's the thing. It reminds me so much of that, where I'm just like, I wonder if I just shoot him in the leg. Oh yeah, the leg comes off, the arm comes off, like all that kind of stuff. There's that bit at the beginning where Leon investigates a corpse and sort of bends the head back, and you see
it's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, the amount of detail
the physics, as I've said, a wonderful word, the jiggle bone physics. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it seems like limbs and like heads are sort of independent, which means that when they wrench themselves up, the head is like getting dragged along with it, which is a great way to animate a zombie.
There was a point when I did double tap a zombie that was already on the floor, later on, and it was like slumped up against the wall, and its head was down, and I shot it, and its head did split, but it just sat there bobbing. Forever. So every time I walked through there, I was expecting it to go, wait! Because the physics, it was just a ragdoll, but the physics was still going, and it was just sitting there bobbing its head at me.
Just like down with the beat. He's just loving it. But yeah, I think they pull it off really well. Actually, I was going to mention when we talked about like iconic enemies, because you won't have the reference point for the liquor, but what do you think of the liquor reveal?
Oh,
because it's
my
so
God.
good. The new one is way better than the original.
It was horrifying. I was there thinking, it was like walk slower. I'm like, how?
Yeah.
I was going through my key bindings,
I was
working
aiming,
out,
like trying to aim.
And then I saw your article about the tips and tricks, and I came across the whole because you were like, oh, press L2. I'm like, I'm playing on PC. What does that equate to? Oh wait, just aim down your sight and shuffle past it. And I did that, except that I did that for like the one liquor that was left because I just killed the rest of them.
I tried.
Just couldn't be doing with them. I was like, I would happily waste them on these things. Get out.
I remember the first time I killed one was like I knifed it to put it down, and then I shot it in the head, and I was just like, I'll take my knife back, thanks. And it was brilliant.
That's a fantastic feeling.
Yes.
When you pull your knife back out of something.
It's brilliant.
I only killed one of them in my entire time in the police station. I was so scared of them, and I barely, for some reason, I was playing this game. I'm still playing this game very thoroughly. I'm checking everywhere, trying to get as much ammo as possible, always using the gunpowder, and yet I've still got no ammo for when anyone turns up. So every time there was a licker, I just had to just run straight past them and hope to God they didn't get me. And that's sort of the fear. It's sort of like Mr. X. Like you've got the sounds of like the licker going off behind you. You have no idea how close it really is to you, and then you're trying to navigate 3 zombies that are in front of you as well. And like the fear that comes from that, knowing you don't have enough bullets to take even maybe one of the zombies out is incredible, and again hasn't got frustrating for me in a way that say Alien Isolation did.
The thing that it really tapped into like a primal, because I hate moths, okay? I hate them. Big minging, made of dust, awful thing. and if there's a big old moth in a room, or a big spider for example, or a big bee, which I once had in my bathroom, which wouldn't leave. Anyway, if you lock it, usually like if it's like, you see a thing in your room, insect wave, you need to take care of it. You're like, I'm not ready for this now. I'll leave the room, I'll get some tissue, I'll come back. That's what that reminded me of when you know that you've left a licker in a corridor, because you need to go back to it, and I'm like edging through the door like ready to like shoot it, and you hear it breathing, but I'm like, okay, is it on the roof, where is it, on the wall? And then they like slowly come towards you, and I think like the way that they've given them the sort of like experimental dynamic AI where they're exploring themselves, but then they can kind of sniff you out even though it's meant to be just
because like I said, I killed most of the lickers myself, but there was a point when I was going around like the east wing of the station, the first area basically, and going back through there and knowing there were lickers, I'm thinking, I'm sure I've killed them all. I remember walking through and seeing one on the floor, and it's like, oh, I've killed that one. Oh, I've killed that one as well. I think I've killed all of them. It's fine. Just barge into a room and there's another one, and I'm like, okay, this one's still alive. There's
a great moment. It's not a spoiler. It's just based on a certain level. When you go down to the labs later on in the Umbrella Labs,
I know exactly.
There's 2 of them in one room, and it's like you've got. It reminded me so much of the Velociraptors from the end of Jurassic Park, because they almost feel like they play off each other, and it's just the AI with itself. But there's a safe room on one side of the room, and you've got to go all the way through to this other corridor. So you do need to go through the belly of the beast kind of thing. And there's an optional pickup in the corner that you can get. So it's like if you want everything in the game, you're gonna have to go right through where both of them are patrolling. Yeah. And there's a whole bunch of dead bodies around there and zombies. So like if you want to get a shot off on the zombies, that noise is going to alert the lickers, and then you just boom.
The thing is, that point, they both landed on me.
Oh really?
That was the other moment that scared me, and I genuinely just unloaded everywhere, like both ammo and my bodily fluids, just everything. Because because the first one dropped down, I was like firing off shots, and then the second one comes down, I'm like, I'm screwed up.
Because they do. That's the thing. You sort of try and micromanage them, and you're like, okay, I know where one of them is, and you've obviously got the headphones on, you've got the audio, so you know where its breathing is, and then you're trying to focus on dodging the zombies ahead of you, or trying to move fast, whatever. You're trying to like take everything on, and then one of the things that the lickers do now is they drop right down from out of frame onto you, which is just like that whole horrid. Oh god, there's a spider on me, horrible thing. And so that happened to me as well, where I was moving past one of them, and then I just went like bloop, and there was one that's on top of me, and
so
I just
that happened to me twice
mildly
in very quick succession. So it was and they were the things where I thought, okay, screw the ammo conservation, these guys are done, because I can't be doing with trying to shuffle past these things.
I'm not looking forward to getting to there, but the closest I've had to that was, in the police station on the bottom floor where the West office is, I think it's called, and the place where you get the shotgun. For me, that entire area was just off limits because there were so many zombies. I didn't board up the window, so I had zombies crawling in, again.
Yeah.
There were 2 lickers there by that point.
Yes.
And Mr. X chasing me, so I was trying to navigate through all these zombies. 2 lickers on my tail, and Mr. X just appearing at the front, and I was
that was the one
should
bit.
kill these things.
Yeah, I was
they're
like,
overwhelming.
It just wants me to die.
Yeah.
Like I was just like, I didn't have any ammo left. I didn't have any herbs or anything. And then there was 2 lickers because I ran like down the corridor. I had Mr. X coming down the staircase after me. I went down the corridor that's ahead, and a licker came around the corner. I was like, oh, for God's sake! And I turned around, and Mr. X is right there walking towards me as well. I was like, well, I'm just gonna die then. And so I ended up like kind of running around the licker as it grabbed me, and then the animation kind of spat me out the other side.
For you, because I'm finding it really tense and really scary.
Yes.
But I've only died about 3 times. I think
I
over
can
the
tell you a
course of the
tale of
game.
me dying.
I'm sure you will.
I will.
But I don't know how are you finding like the difficulty? Because I'm finding it kind of well. Whereas I'm always on low health, but I'm never really dying and losing loads of progress and getting to that point where I'm just frustrated more than I am scared.
I'll do my story in a bit because Rich, what do you think?
I mean,
As a
obviously, being new to the series, I did die quite a few times. I'm so thankful they didn't turn around and go, "You died this many times." At the end of the game, I'm really thankful about that. But I think everything was very, very fair. There were moments when I just, as you said, Scott, I just think, well, I guess I'll die. Like there's nothing I can do here. There were moments just in like the bigger like set pieces of the game that I thought, okay, this is getting a bit ridiculous now, but I'm getting through it. It is fair. So I think it was fair. Like I said, I'm just thankful that my number of deaths didn't
throw it in
to
your
my
face.
grade or anything like that.
I think in that case, even when I've said like I think that you get overwhelmed, they want you to feel the fear, they want you to respect the Horde or respect the lickers or Mr. X or whatever. I did always find a way out, but I meant that I came out and just read health and I had to go looking for herbs or something. Excuse me, but I do think that they, for the most part, pull that stuff off. Where it feels fair, and you can land a headshot if you wait for the cursor to come together. You nearly always get a head burst, which like obviously helps in the long run.
Yeah.
But though, in terms of like when I died a lot, the first time I died, and then it was then repeatedly like 10 times in a row, was that stupid alligator fight, which I just maybe it's a crocodile nature's lovers.
I got it second try.
Everyone I've talked to was like, oh no, it's fine, it's just scripted, it's fine. My thing was, and it's probably my own gamer brain undoing my entire life, was that it just the scene starts in the old one, in the PS1 one, you just fight a big old alligator in a room, and it's really awkward and whatever. And obviously they wanted to modernize it, so they made it where the alligator's like chasing after you. It's like Crash Bandicoot. You're running towards the frame, and that's a really cool idea. But then it's scripted, but in like lanes. So it's like if you stay in the middle, the alligator will chomp you. And so then on the loading screen, it's like you want to go left and right to dodge it. And I'm like, yes, I definitely do. But then whenever I tried
swerving,
I was like, it's still scripted though. Like it's still you're supposed to.
You've got your set. Here's rubble on the left. Here's rubble on the right.
Here's where it's gonna go.
You've just got to try to like trial and error, basically.
And so the thing that kept annoying me was that like you see it like winding up for where it's going to go. It's going to go down the left lane, assumedly. Yeah. So then you start to move to the right, but it's so sluggish that I wasn't completely out the way.
Right.
And there was one time when like it came down one of the sides, and I like was like, okay, I'm gonna get back into what will now be the safe area because it's gonna alternate, and it just cut to the cutscene of it eating me, even though it was backing off, and I was like, just F the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like, just I hate this.
Well, see, that's fascinating because I did it in just like on the first go.
Oh, did you?
Well, here's the thing. I'm not like great at games. It sounds like I'm giving it really big bollocks over here, but I'm not like really good at Resident Evil. I'm not really good at games. I'm crap at Dark Souls. But for this, my biggest gripe was that bit was just too easy.
Yeah.
I was literally just walking around and I shot it and it flew up. And I was like, okay, that's good.
Absolutely,
visually impressive.
I do love, because I wasn't seething, but I was like, I hate this. I hate that it's just, I know it's simple, I can tell, and everyone's told me, Jules told me it was a really great thing. I'm like, no, it's not, Jules. But everyone told me it was this really easy thing, and I like the alligator. I like the idea of a big mutant alligator kind of thing. It's a cool idea. But I was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and it just kept triggering the death cutscene, and I was like, I wasn't even touching him. But anyway, the thing that turned me, it definitely was a you problem, and definitely a Capcom problem. But my thing was that at the end, I love that when you finally take it out, Leon just goes like, take that, you oversized son of a... And I was like, just you tell it. And I was like, back on board, fine.
Well, this sort of links to what we touched upon earlier, but then moved on from, like the characterization of Leon and Claire in this game, mostly Leon, because I haven't really interacted with Claire much. She's like so good in like his transformation from this sort of green rookie cop into someone who's confident about himself and can quip about taking out a giant alligator is awesome. And I love the way they do that through visuals. I think his new face sort of fits for who this Leon is. It's like, it's based on Resident Evil 2 Leon, but it's his sort of boyish looks.
They want you to feel like he's the first day. Yeah, like they want you to feel like you're like him, like exploring for the first time, which works doubly for people like you who are coming in for the first time and then seeing like where he goes, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I guess for the alligator thing, that makes me think of. Was there anything that you guys didn't like or you didn't think was as polished as it could have been? Because the sewers in general and the alligator fight was the first time I was like, I don't. It made me really feel the procedural grind of Resident Evil, which was just sort of like I know that I need this, which leads to this, that leads to this, like item-based progression, which is completely fine. That's what Resident Evil is. Yeah. But I thought that the opening section hid that way better, and it like all flowed together way better. Whereas
there were moments sequence in the underground facility. I can't remember exactly what it is.
Labs?
No, it's after the sewers. There was a point when it's like, I know what I need to do here, I know what I need, but I can't, for the love of God, find what I'm looking for or understand where I need to go.
Yeah.
But I think that's just a given with Resi, and I think I knew that like going in, so it didn't really grind me that much. But that's the only thing that I really didn't like. There were points when I thought some set pieces felt a bit outweighed, like in favor of the opposition to me. But again, it got through them eventually, and it's like, oh, okay, this was a lot fairer than I expected. But there was nothing that really like mega like did grind on me.
It was more just that's the thing where I felt I saw the strings more than like you because I think at the beginning like it's the way they've reorganized their police station, like you really do, it just flows like you know that like there's a certain key that's empty or certain item you're going to need to get it, but then they kind of queue up a whole bunch of those and then they give you a bunch of items and your mind just goes, okay, I can get like here and you just take it all in and it's really like seamless. Which is what I thought they lost a little bit in the sewers, but
it
doesn't hurt it too
much.
much.
I think that's more of an inherent problem with Resident Evil 2 as both a historical game and a modern game. Like the first part of that in the Raccoon City Police Department is so dense with sort of like things to find and things to do and like your sense of freedom and kind of ownership over like the space in a way. It's sort of like a Spencer Mansion from the first game condensed into sort of this like miniaturized. And I think you do lose that when you go out into like the sewers or then the lab, and you never quite grasp that high again. But I wonder maybe that's just like a problem with, not a problem, but like an issue with Resi 2 going into that more action focused compared to Resi 1.
Maybe I think you've kind of got this like it's like a swell and release kind of thing, because you've got like the whole opening bit of the police station. It's like you learn that map inside out and you learn like which items go where and everything. And then when you go down to the sewers, it's like, okay, exhale, like you kind of relax a little bit, and then you get down there and it's like, okay, do this all again, like memorize a new location and all that kind of thing. But I wonder if it's just I hate sewer levels. I know what you guys think, but I hate sewer levels. They're so overdone. And I know they had to do them because it's Resident Evil 2. But that, as soon as I was like, I'm back in the sewer, there's all the poop and there's the mesh that needs opening with that specific crank again. I'm like, oh, for God's sake.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I think there were a couple of areas in the game that didn't really feel a bit outdated now just because they've been overdone.
I'm still glad they did it.
Yeah, me too, of course, yeah. But it's sort of, I wonder if they're going to take this, then the success of Resident Evil 2 as sort of a base and then do another original game like it, or whether they'll keep Resident Evil 7's format for those sequels and then maybe remake 3 and
That's
keep
the
this.
thing.
That's something I was going to ask. I know, because I've been looking at like reviews on Steam. People are saying, "Oh, well, I've already pre-ordered the Resi 3 remake." And that, I was going to say, like, do you think they would take this series in that direction? Because obviously 7 was a fantastic hit. It was something again I still need to play.
You do.
But like, do you think they will, as you said, would they go on with that style, or would you think they'll take what they did with Resi 2 and do that whole, because I'm assuming like 4, 5 and 6 don't have that same kind of claustrophobic exploration based
4, maybe not claustrophobic, but 4 has the same exploration sensibility.
Yeah.
It's 5 and 6 that were more action focused, but like, I mean, that's the thing. I drastically prefer this to 7. Like, I still love 7, but I think this is just like,
so if they made like a super modern version of Resident Evil 8, but it still had that sort of 90s puzzle jank to it, so even that would be like a perfect kind of Resi game.
I think so.
A reboot to the series, as it were. 7 could be considered like a reboot.
It's weird because that's the thing. Like, obviously they did 7 and it felt like this massive departure, but then they were calling it like, oh, it's a rebirth and we've been planning this all along, and first person horror is like the new thing, and that's great. And 7, like I said, is a great story and everything. But like, playing this felt more like old meets new in the best way. Like, especially like I said in that opening area where like you've got puzzles, you've got action, you've got the gore, the atmosphere, the graphics, everything is like playing off itself really well. And it's like that's a window into how to do great Resident Evil, which is based
that's
on the
why
first trilogy.
the demo hooked me in so much, and that's why I got it and played it, and I'm so happy I did.
Yeah.
So,
and it's like if you contrast that to like, like 6's aeroplane fights, or like 5's like, you're trying to shoot everybody in the village kind of thing. It's like they missed like a quintessential element of tension that and like, and being like intimidated by enemies and stuff. I'm
kind of stuck on this one because like Resident Evil 2 is so good, but I was thinking about Resident Evil 7 while I was playing it. It must be why I brought it up so much in this bloody podcast. But even though I thought that game had problems, I really liked how experimental it was and how many new things they tried. I think it would be a bit of a shame to just get rid of that after one game where they could fully capitalize on it in a sequel. I think for me, I like the idea of having 2 kind of branching pathways. You have Resident Evil 7, and that continues to innovate and be kind of like try new things and experiment, where you can sort of have Resident Evil 2 going into Resident Evil 3, like a remake of that game, and sort of stick to what they've got here and have 2 strands. I would, if I'm being honest, like the Resident Evil 2 style of gameplay to be eventually supplemented into the main series and sort of see an original take on that. But Resident Evil 7 had enough there for me to want to see them tackle a sequel in that style, and then you can kind of rub your hands with it.
I think could Resi Resi 8 take the form of basically Resident Evil 2, but in first person instead?
Maybe. I mean,
could you just have a merge of the two?
You need like I mean, there was a lot of atmospheric stuff in 7, but like the way they do the lighting in this is like just another level. Like there's something else to it that's just phenomenal. I kind of think. I mean, I've already seen one of the director of this game, which I've already forgot the name of, but said that like based on the fan feedback, they would look into doing 3, and so this was like kind of like a test case, and it's like obviously it topped the charts. It's doing phenomenally well, and little like on a gameplay side, things like Mr. X, the way that he works now, and the way that Jack Baker worked in 7, that's totally Nemesis. That's what they started back in like 99 or whenever it was, 2000. Would you guys like? Are you just game for more in this style?
I mean, like I said, I'm keen to go and play some of the other games. I know that you can't play Resi 1 in that style. I know they've done a remake of it, and you can play it with the fixed camera stuff. And I think I'd be interested because I've always looked at that game and thought, how on earth does that play? Like it's always really
not very accurately.
Yeah,
I love it.
That's the thing that's interesting me. But then going on to play something like Resi 4 and playing Resi 7. I mean, I'm probably not too fussed about playing 5 and 6. I want to just play the series, like the bits that
you should definitely do 4, and I think you should do Revelations 2.
Is that it's on DS, isn't it?
No, it's on PS4 and stuff too.
Of course, they did do a HD port of it, didn't they? Yeah.
But Revelations 2 has got a great story. But I think that's the thing. If you're new to the series now, there are like 3 strands to it. Like you've got first-person Resident Evil, you've got like this kind of over-shoulder stuff, and you've got the fixed perspective stuff. So it's like, they've kind of got a weird thing on their hands as to where do they even take the numbered installments.
Maybe they could do a sort of a Nier Automata and do a whole mashup of everything. Like you have a particular section that's like in Resi 8 where you have particular stuff with fixed camera. You've got certain things with like exploration that's in third person. Then you've got to fight your way through a corridor of particular zombies, and you've got only this many bullets, like the opening of Deadpool. You've got this many bullets and this many zombies, and you've got to do it right, so it puts you into first person instead.
Well, the great idea they had that's in 7 and gets a reprisal in 2. In 7, you would pick up different videotapes of what happened in the house before you were there. Yeah. And when you put them in, you beam in, you play that level.
Play a full screen.
And so they have that in 2 where you're watching the videotapes from a first-person perspective. And they should just do that. They should let the whole thing play in 3rd, but if you put a videotape in, you get to do a little ancillary, like this random little kind of cutaway thing.
You play through that
in first
scene, as it were, rather than just watching it.
I would take that. I mean, like the nearest comparison to a first-third split, other than like GTA or Red Dead, is Anthem. Like that game's story segments are entirely in first person, like Elder Scrolls, but then the main game is in 3rd, and it's like that works totally well. Like as far as like something that
would be interesting to be obviously projecting yourself onto that character. It'd be interesting to see the other characters talking to you, like looking into your eyes as you play.
I wonder how difficult it would be to do Resident Evil 2 and insert a first person mode like in Resident Evil 7, because I'm loving it, but I have such fond memories of playing Resident Evil 7, especially in VR and kind of being immersed.
Here he comes with a VR.
Hey, here I am.
We're not going to buy one, Josh.
But no, it's back again. No, that is genuinely really good. Like the feel you got from stalking those hallways in Resident Evil 7 while these monsters were coming at you was like one of the best gaming experiences of all time.
They would. That's the thing, and like a lot of people bought VR to play RE7, and they'd have to look at the optics of it and depend how much is Resident Evil associated with PSVR or with VR, and then kind of like associate it that way, because you could play it on Switch if you stream it in. But I don't know if like
I just think
it works so much better like that.
The enemies work so well for kind of a first person like viewpoint. I want to see this zombie crawling towards me like through my own eyes, and sort of the lickers jumping down, and like the idea of kind of being there with a gun and sort of looking behind your back or looking up and seeing the liquor it scares me enough that I might have to have a change of pants after.
I think for me, I adore third person stuff more, but we'll have to wait and see, because Resident Evil 8 is going to be a long ways off. But hopefully they'll kind of continue down this remake route, because they've definitely got something special with this.
I feel like if they tell me, hey, we're doing Resi 3, then everyone would.
I think that'll be the next thing.
With the response, the incredible response this game has had.
But either way, you guys can let us know what you think down in the comments below if you're watching the video version, or find us on social media if you're on the audio thing. I've been the host, the one and only host, Scott Taylor for the WhatCulture Gaming Podcast, joined by Rich.
Thank you for listening.
And joined by Josh.
Thank you, goodbye.
I'll catch you next time.
Bye.